Hello everyone, I want to welcome you to my Atari YouTube channel where you can learn about both basic programming and assembly language programming, just depending on whatever you're interested in. This series is actually a continuation of everything that we've been following so far. If you want to watch the beginner series of all the basic videos I have on here, you'll want to go through those one by one so you can kind of keep up with what we're doing here. First of all, you'll want to make sure you understand how to calculate with variables and stuff like that. You want to make sure that you know how to use the keyboard input and respond to it, so that when you press the keys on the keyboard over here, that it gives you a signal that allows you to control the ASCII code for that key. So if you press the space bar, it's going to let you control things with the space bar. If you press the return key, it's going to let you control things with the return key, and so on. Now you also want to make sure you have a good idea, watch the for loops video so that you understand how for loops work and understand incrementing and decrementing variables and how those actually work, and understand the process of appending one number to the other to get the value to accumulate. Probably not a whole lot more. You just want to understand the graphics modes, and I can go ahead and kind of get started with this in just a minute. This series is going to basically teach you how to go ahead and create and set up your own string arrays, which allow you to keep values stored inside of it, or you can also store characters inside of a string. That's what we're going to be doing in this series. We're going to be storing characters inside of a string, because what I want to focus on in this section is we're going to set up a mini text adventure game that will allow you to go through and play. If you ever brought up in computer generation back in the 80s like I was, Infocom was a big gamer, and they were always creating what are called text adventure games, which they basically have no graphics in the game, but they allow you to read stories in the game and kind of evolve from there as you go along. So that's what this is going to kind of do, set up the commands so that we can respond to them with the string arrays and get an actual game in progress here. We'll see how that goes, and I'm going to teach you how to read stuff in from a data statement and stuff like that, so you can kind of eventually start using these in your own programs. So listen, you've come to the right place. Even if you don't really own an Atari computer, a lot of the concepts covered here will just be for basic programmers, so you'll probably pick up on the differences between that, and that includes people with a Commodore 64 computer and an Apple computer, Tandy computer, or any of the 64-bit line series that they had created in those days. So let me go ahead and kind of center the camera here so I can show you a program that I've already worked on, and we'll go from there, and I'll explain what's going on with this one. I'm running in just a minute. Give me a minute to reposition my screen here. Okay, looks pretty good there. Okay. This. I don't miss anything. There we go. So you see the whole thing now. Okay, so for those of you who have not been following, the first line here is a graphics statement, and with the Atari computer there are actually graphics modes listed from 0 to 14, with graphics 0, graphics 1, graphics 2, graphics 13, graphics 14 being only limited to text modes. Now all the other graphics modes not mentioned, but in the aforementioned there, actually cover only graphics in general, and they allow you to draw on the screen and stuff like that, but you can't intermingle text or anything with them. So this is a text mode we're going to use, since we're going to be printing messages out and creating a mini adventure. And what this next line does is something called dimension. Dimension is used whenever you want to initialize strings or arrays in your program. These are initializing actually strings here that we're going to use as actually array pointers. So this first one I'm just calling CRs, because the whole idea is just going to be reading data down here, which I'll explain in a minute. And these are called commands, by the way, because these are being used on our program to call actions in the program. I could have called them actions, but commands. And I just called this C for command and R for read, since we're reading in the data. This is setting up a length of 40. The next array here is just called CM strings, which stands for command. I already forgot what the M stands for, but basically it's gonna, it's just command. It's just abbreviation for command. CM is abbreviation for command, and that's also set up to 40 length. The next line here is just poke 17, 128. This just turns the screen a different color. You might not be able to see it here, but it's a darker blue than what is normal with the Atari computer. Okay, so the next line here is a for loop. So like I said, if you don't understand for loops, make sure you go back and watch the for loops video. Very important, so that you can follow this, especially when we get to this part. What this do is it's incrementing in steps of 1 up to 15 in increments of step 3. I'll probably say that backwards. It's incrementing in steps 1, incrementing steps of 3 from 1 to 15. That's what I meant to say. So it's just going and it's counting by 3s each time. So it starts at 1, since it's stepping 3, then it goes 3, then it goes, let's see, it goes 1, 3, what would that be, 6, because it's jumping by 3s, 9, 12, 15. So basically it's jumping here, and what this is doing is this is necessary. If you look down here, later we're going to be reading this on the next line, which I'll just go down to the next line. It just says read CR string, so whenever you see a read statement, it's going to look for a data command in your program. In this example, what CR is a string, so it only can accept, well, string can accept, it basically accepts characters, symbols, letters, or anything you want to put into it. So at this point, we're just going to use a string. We're not going to be using numbers. We're only going to recognize a string. So it's going to read in this first value. So as soon as you print read CR strings, it's already reading this whole thing because these are separated by commas. That's how the read responds. It'll look at the first thing before the first comma. So it's going to get a get on the first one here. Now the next line, this is going to require a little bit more understanding of how this for loop is working with this. So this is a little bit more advanced, so excuse me on that, but this is necessary for this game. The next thing it's going to do is going to take the variable string. Remember, it's just get for right now. It's going to look for the first replacement of A. The first time we go through A, it's 1, so it's going to pick up the first letter. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. You don't count the comma. This is 4, this is 5, this is 6, this is 7, this is 8, this is 9, and I think you get that part. Okay, so it's going to pick up a 1 here. It's going to say a comma, another 1, because remember A is still 1, plus 3. So basically it's going to read in the first set here, even though this does say plus 3, so A plus, this would actually be A plus 4, but it works correctly. When I put it in A plus 4 or A plus 2 like I have down here, for some reason it doesn't work correctly. Maybe I'll change it later. But that's what it's basically doing. It's reading in the 3 characters, which is why I said a plus 3 there. And it's going to be equal to CR string. So basically it's going to equal to this whole thing. So this whole thing of get is going to be stored into each single series of A. Now the first time it reads, it's only going to read the G. That's what the A, comma, A plus 3 is. Remember, A is 1, 1, and then it's going to read in the 1 plus 3, which is 4. So it's basically going to read in the 4 the first time. And the reason why I did this, if you look at the next A, it's going to increment in the next series of A, and now because it's a step 3, it's jumping in 3 steps, it's going to be a 3. So now A is 3, and if you count over in the list here, 1, 2, 3, you notice that there's 3 in the list here. So basically it's counting in the spacement, or the placement for the 3, so it knows to pick up the next series. So I think it might start at 0, 1, 2, 3 or something, but the way it's working is it works perfect in this example. It seems to pick up the loop correctly. So I'm not going to try to break it down in exact logic. It may not make sense all the way here, but that's what it's basically doing. It's picking up the series of 3s. And remember, each time you're incrementing A, it's just taking it by 3. So the first time it's 1, the second time it's 3, and then you add 3 to it, you got 6. So now you're jumping over to the next sequence. So hopefully that didn't lose you. I'll run the program in a minute and show you how it works. And it's basically what it's doing. It's putting all these into the CM string. So if I print CM strings right now on the screen here, lost my cursor. I'll show you what it does. You see what it's doing is it's reading all these in exactly as it should. So it's reading these side by side, which is exactly what we want the program to do. So then actually, let me take out this SK in this next part. I was playing with it earlier with some different variables. I realized I don't need this SK to throw you off. So I'm glad I figured it out the other way because it would have been more confusing. But anyways, the next thing here is going to actually do our printout to the screen. And let me run it just once to show you what I mean by that. You'll be able to see it when I print it. You look here at the top, you see the commands get, drop, look, inventory, move. Now, these are the commands you can actually use in the program. And I just noticed they don't look very good over here. Yeah, they seem to look great earlier, now they don't even want to show up. Well, by golly, I may have to change the color. I don't know this. It's this camera again. This camera is very, very finicky. There it goes. It looks really good there. It would just stay. You would have a really good picture. Okay, it's kind of over in the corner, but I think you can see him a little bit more. So it's get, drop, look, INV, and move. So it's GET, DRO, LOO, INV, MOV. Just like you saw down here. I know you can't see it in the text window, but just like you saw in the data statement. So that's basically all it's doing is outputting into the screen. Just to show you that that works. That's what this line does right here, is it's outputting everything to the screen. So it's just reading in steps of 3s here. But remember earlier we saved the variable, or the string variable CM string, so it already knows what these are. It's just going through and it's just reading each one of these to print them out on the screen. I just wanted to kind of show you that example. But we're going to build a program upon it, so we don't really need all those lines. I'm just going to turn them off in case we need them later. Just set up a remark to turn off a line, so just skip it. We want our data lines, we don't want to turn those off though. And actually I'm going to move these up a little bit more, because we're probably going to be writing more code and I don't want to overwrite these. We're obviously going to be writing a lot of code here, so let me take out the extras. You don't need those. Okay. Now let's get a story going here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create up here as we go along. I'm going to create this we'll call it ST for story. We're going to create a story string so we can kind of read the text in, and we're going to do like a typewriter print. I'll show you how that works to make it print out to the screen and look kind of fancy. Watch the video of for loops and delays and you'll be able to follow this next example. So we're just basically going to set up our strings first. A story, for example, that I need to think of. I always like dungeon games. I don't know if you guys are into dungeons, but I was fancied on dungeons. So you are Prince Altor, we'll just set up a name, and the king has issued an arrest for a pagan let's see, a pagan, what do you call those people in those days? Not a troublemaker, but a pagan, not a wizard, we'll say pagan witch or something maybe, that is stirring up trouble. Trouble wrong. Trouble. And then what you want to do is you want to say st strings. And then what we're going to do is we're going to append to this current message here. So what we best thing to usually do at this point is just set up a variable. We'll call it t or l equals the length of st strings. And we're going to say st strings l, so we can get the next series, comma, I don't know how long this one's going to be. Let's have the length of st strings maybe is equal to, let me just put a space on this one, trouble for the local villagers, or something like villagers. Oops, what did I do? Oh, I forgot my other. We'll see how that goes. It probably won't work correctly, but we'll try it anyway. Now we're going to print out this message. The length of st strings. I'll explain this in a minute, guys. Let's just clear the screen for now. Actually, let me do that first. You just clear the screen. Print number 6 to print the upper screen. 125 will clear the screen. And we're going to print to the upper screen. our message. We want to print it line by line. And we're going to set up a delay within it to make it look fancy. Let's see what that does. That's printing down the street. Oh, sorry, I forgot I needed to change the other. I made this print over, so I need to set up a position statement here so it can position across the screen. And it'll print like a typewriter. We also need to make it check when it gets over here to do a character return. It's going to be a little bit more advanced, guys, but it'll look pretty cool. 0, oh, I'm sorry. A, since we start at 1, and then we want to start at the first line at 0, and then we want to increment the line when we get to the corner. So let's see. A equals 1 to look at the str string, so set the line, say if let's see, 0 plus margin. So I have to make it count, I guess. If margin is greater, let's see, margin, oh, I forgot to set up my margin equals margin. So margin equals margin, I just realized I set this up in the wrong place, so I think I may need to say A, because this is A, this is the margin. Oh, this is going to be a carriage return, so carriage return, it's called CRET. So we're going to make this check once we reach the edge of the screen and do a carriage return. That's how I'm going to do this. I'll just make it do a counter for now. That's the only way I can think to do it. Count equals count plus 1. And this will say if count is greater than 38, I might even want to maybe 35, then count equals 0 to reset our line, and CRT equals CRT plus 1 to get our line to go down to the next screen. Now let's see how that works. It may or may not work, we'll see. Okay, there it goes. That's what I wanted it to do. It's going very slow, but I wanted to print a message across the screen here. Let me speed it up a little bit. So I'll explain it in a minute, guys. I just wanted to get it working here for you. Set to 100, that might do pretty fast. Let's see. See how it's printing like a typewriter on the screen? Let's see if it crashes over. I had a feeling it would. Let's see where CNT landed at. CNT 20. So I just need to make it once it reaches 20, reset it. Or 19 would be good. That should do it. Speed up our line a little bit more. Try it again. There it goes. You are Prince. Okay, so we got that part to work. We got another error message on line 200. Let's see what that shows. I wonder why that's giving me an error. So line 200 is an error. Oh, I don't have this after this. I need to set this line below this, so we're going to switch these two lines. It didn't have the position and the number 6 together, so when it got down here and it skipped earlier, it wasn't able to figure out that the print was actually part of the position. So it should work out. Anything else might jump in there, we'll find out. Okay, now we're done. 996. I know that's not an error. I printed the screen right there. Oh, I never would have caught this. Up here. Or I think it's the length of our ST string. Let's see. ST strings. ST strings. And A is 20. Only this is going to matter. I'll change it anyway. I might need to even set up a semicolon. Let's do that. Oh, I know what it is now. It's the position. Because A is already incrementing each time, I probably wouldn't want to use A equals 1 to length, because this is always going to keep position A over here, because A is already at 20. And it tries to add one more towards that 21, so it's giving an error message. So we're going to need to change that. And I guess we'll just call it CMT, since that's where it's incrementing at. That'll do it fine. There it goes. See, now it's printing down to the next line. And it'll keep printing down to the next line as it prints the messages. Here's an example of how you do like a typewriter printing. I know that's kind of messy like that. I just wanted to show you. If you wanted to print up your own messages, you can do them like that. It stopped here because we didn't go all the way through the entire string. Let's see. Probably something to do with this line I've done underneath here. I set this to the length of ST strings at this point to get the next position in the line. And I wanted to get the length of this line, but it didn't work, so let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, and 25. So let's just set that to 25. And what is L? 101? 101. Oh, it's 101 plus 25. Ah. So it's 101 plus 25, so 126. Okay, let's try that. Let me go back and explain the program now. That's only fair. You waited all this time. So this next line down here, after we've gone ahead and we printed out our earlier message, we just go in and we're setting up another string variable here, and we're setting a whole message inside of it. So whatever you want to type inside of here, you just use the ST equal and you put it inside the quotes there, right here, and it's going to take all that text and store it into that single string. So if I go down here and I print ST strings, watch. Oops. It prints in the entire message up to the point here that we needed to fix this other line. But you see it's taking all that text and sticking it on the line. Sticking it inside a string, excuse me. Okay. So after it's done that, the next line I was trying to do is I was trying to get the length of ST string. The length means get the whole range of whatever this counts up to. And if you count from here, 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 all the way up to here, it should equal L, which earlier I printed it was 101. And then this just gets the length of the remaining characters, which is 25, and I just added 25 to get the rest of the length, which is 126. So if I've done this correctly, it should print out the whole message this time. And that's what the next message does here. Is oh, I'm sorry, no, the next line here, this actually print number 6 CHR string. Remember in the graphics videos, number 6 will print to the upper graphics screens, and this it's a CHR string 125. That's just gonna clear the whole screen for you. And we did that because we had that little text in the corner. I wanted to show you that demo earlier. And this is basically gonna say for A equals 1 to the length of ST strings. Remember, length of ST strings is this whole thing, and here, let me show you something to kind of explain that. So if you go down here, once again, and you just type ST strings, and you go down here, and you print length of ST strings, you'll see what I'm talking about. It says 101 here, but we didn't rerun it. It's going to get the whole length. Right now, this whole string here, if you count all these characters, there's 101 characters there. And that's what that's doing, is it's getting the length of that whole message so we can print out whatever's in that whole string. And the next line will position the cursor on the screen, so we'll position it way up here in the corner. Notice it says CMT. To make this clear for people, I'm going to initialize CMT up here. People can easily get confused if I don't initialize it correctly. Sorry about that. So CMT equals 0. Let's go back and relist. So CMT first is equal to 0, so it's going to position at 0. Remember, this first parameter here is getting the horizontal position, or the left and the right. So it's going to position it way over here since CMT is already at 0. The next parameter is your vertical, or your up and down. So this is going to start it at 0 also, so it's going to position it, actually I said over here, it's going to position it way up in the corner because CMT is 0, and this is at 0. And this next line, which I called carriage return as abbreviation here, I just called it CRET. It's still at 0 until we go back and change it down here. So let me initialize CRT to 0, just to get you guys in a habit of that and understanding that the variables start at 0 till you change them. So CRT is 0 at the beginning there. And that's what that's doing, is it's going to position it at 0. Now notice the next line, it's print number 6 to the upper screen here. ST strings, which remember was our message earlier, A comma A. So now it's looking at the length of A and it's checking to see what is the first character you're printing. Now ST strings A comma A is 1 comma 1. So if you go down here and you print ST strings 1 comma 1, you'll see that it's actually showing Y, which is the very first letter up here. So this 1 comma 1 is the Y from up here. Now if you print ST strings 2 comma 2, you'll see it equals an O. Let me do that and show you. Now you see it's an O, so it got the next letter. And once again, I'll do it for purposes of, for example, demonstration here. We'll do 3. And 3 is U. You see, basically it's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's see if 9 is P, just to show you for example again. If I counted it correctly, 9 is a P. So there you go. That's what that's doing, is it's printing through the string and getting each individual character so it can print them out on the screen one by one. And this next line, I just called it count. It's an abbreviation, CNT equals CNT plus 1. If you remember in the variable videos I have on here, whenever you increment a value to 1, it's going to keep increasing it. So CNT equals CNT plus 1. The first time CNT is 0 is we initialized at the top of the screen. So the first time you increment it, it's going to be a 1. Now if you look up here, position started at 0, but then once you incremented this variable 1, it's going to, in a minute here, it'll jump back and it'll change this. So before I go there, I didn't want to lose you, but if you had to go through here, the loop, once you hit next A and you go back here again and you hit here again after it completes this for loop, which is now going to be 2 because you hit the A and A incremented the 2, this is going to be a 1. So that basically moves it over 1 position. That's how it's getting to move line by line by line by line as you're seeing the message printing out. And this line just slows it down. This is a delay loop from 1 to 70. You can add more to this to slow it down even more. You can decrease this value and it'll print faster on the screen. Like if I set it to 5, it'll print really fast on the screen. And that's basically what this next A does. What I told you earlier is once you've gone back and you put the 1 in here and you hit the next A, it'll go back to the for loop here because it's still trying to complete this for loop, and it'll change this to a 2. So the next time the CNT will be equal to 2, it'll be at position 2, and this will get the second letter for 2, which I did show you that earlier, which is the O. So it's just basically printing those lines one by one. That's all that loop is doing. And this line right here, I know I jumped over it, but I wanted to explain. It says if CNT is greater than 19, then CNT equals 0, and you notice it says CRT equals CRT plus 1. Now this may be a little bit complicated, but if you think about it real simply, remember CNT started at 0. As we're going through the loop though, it's changing each time. So even though it's 0 the first time, it's incrementing through the loop, and it's basically going to check when it reaches a certain condition. So as your loop is counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it eventually gets to 19, so 18, 19, 20. And if it's greater than 19, so suddenly it's at 20, then we need to reset CNT back to 0. And the reason why for this is because if we don't, as our line is increasing over here, and our CNT equals 19 over here, so that's position 19. Remember, this is the horizontal. And if it's suddenly at 19, and you don't reset this, you'll get an error message. That's why you saw me get that 141 error message earlier, because it was printing off the screen. So I basically reset the line here, so it goes all the way back to the beginning, and CRT equals CRT plus 1. If you look up here, it's adding to this 0 plus CRT. So what this is doing is once you've got this print message as it's printing over here to the screen and it hits the corner, it's going to drop down to the next line. That's what this does. It drops it down to the next line because it's hitting at the vertical. So just try to follow it that way. CNT starts it at the first line, and then suddenly when you do plus CRT, this 0 is going to be 0 plus 1. So now it's at position 0, comma 1, so it's down on the next line. And that's why you saw the message going right underneath it, just like you saw. Let me run it again to show you, and I'll explain it as it's running. So it's running right now. It's counting CNT. Okay, CNT equaled 19. Now it dropped CNT and reset here to return to 0 here to go down to the next line. Now it's at 3. It's counting again. Reset. Now it's at 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Reset. Now it's at 5. And see, that's how it's printing and dropping down to the next line. Because that's just a fancy way to print messages on the screen. I know it doesn't look very pretty here. I just wanted to show you. If you wanted to print messages, it does work correctly. And notice it did print out all of our words this time. So I wanted to show you that to kind of explain how those work. We're probably not going to use those in the program. I just wanted to show you as an example to use in your own programs if you need it. I'm going to go on and what else could I do with this? We wanted to use these variables. I wanted to show you how to use them in the program. The variables, I mean the data statements, the string arrays. And we're going to set up a line underneath after this message completes or whatever. Let me speed this up a little bit to show you that today it's working a little faster there. And then down here, 230, we're just going to say main loop. Just going to start the program. And what we're going to do is we're going to be asking for, we're going to be responding to movement. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to erase all these messages since they don't look very pretty on the screen. I just wanted to show you as we go ahead and we use string in the program, that's how this works. So I'm going to make this basically, we're going to remark all this out. I don't want to erase it, but just going to remark it out for now, stuff we don't need. That means you don't have to type these in later. These are just for typing examples. It's just for teaching purposes, but I'm going to make this into an actual game, I promise. But I'm running out of time here. Maybe I'll teach you about GOSUB too in this one if I have time. Okay, there we go. Now a real loop is going to start here at the bottom. This is going to skip all these remark lines. It's going to begin down here at 240. So 240, we're going to print to the top of the screen here. We're going to restart screen again, basically is what we're going to do. Let me do a keyboard check here. We'll use the spacebar to erase the screen. I think that would make it look better. Let's use our open statement to open a keyboard. Let's say if you don't know, watch the keyboard videos or know what that means later. And 240 is going to wait for the space bar, so we need to print a message to the screen here somewhere. We're going to position it. And position, let me see where CNT was at already. CNT was at 5, I can make it maybe like 7 or something. Let's do 4,7. Print to the upper screen. Press space bar. Now we'll print another message underneath it. 4,8 to start. We'll just say start lowercase. And type this start. And we'll set this one in inverse lowercase. That changes the colors, by the way, guys. When you ever use inverse and inverse lowercase and lowercase letters, you'll see different colors on the screen. Hopefully they come out correctly. Let me run it to even show you. There they are. You can't see the blue kind of came. Actually, did come out good over here. Didn't come out good on my screen though, but it says press space bar to start game. So I'm going to move those over a little bit. They're kind of lopsided. Let's set them at 2, I guess. Now we're going to check for a key down here. We're just going to say get number 1, comma K. If K equals 32, then we want to skip a line here. 290, because 280 is just going to go back to 260 until we hit the keyboard. And 290 is going to start our program, basically. Oops, I I knew I'd do something wrong here. Probably put the wrong line in there. Let's see. Okay, equals 32. Then go to 290. Go to 260. What did I do wrong? Let's see. 131 and 260. I'm just not finding the line or something. Huh? Okay. That's really weird. Let's see, did I open up the right number statement? Number 1? Come on. Okay, was it? There it is. I was using the wrong open statement. You know, if I don't press the keys and won't do anything, as soon as I press space bar, it'll end. So we're going to make it just go to the next part of the program. Let's also turn off the cursor. That's just for code 752, 1, guys. I'll turn off the cursor. Okay. And we'll kind of start our program down here. So now we're going to make it clear the screen. 290. Then we'll just clear the screen. Upper screen. And we're just going to set some realistic messages. You can use POS period to abbreviate position. I like to do that to speed things up sometimes. You are standing in a hallway. And 1, 2. I'm going to make these in lowercase. You are standing in a hallway. Changes the colors, guys. There are exits to the north. Let's say north. And set another line here. And to the west, or something like that. Let's see how that looks. You are standing in... Oops. I erased the screen there. Let's go back. I forgot this is limited on the size of the screen here. So you are standing in a hallway which didn't have enough room. So I need to set this on another line. Position 1.2 in a hallway. Erase this part. We're going to jump this down that line. I think I might need to erase that and make that one bigger too. Okay. You're standing in a hallway. There are exits to... I'm going to go off the screen. Exits, and this will have to go on another line. To the north. And to the west. So you are standing in a hallway. There are exits to... I don't know why they did that over there. The north and to the west. Let's see. Let's put an extra line in there. Exits to the north. Oh. That's why I left this in there. We don't need this one in there anymore. So you are standing in a hallway, and make these jump down a few lines. Have it clean up a little bit. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. You see? You are standing in a hallway. Oops, I need to put those down on 2 lines too. I should have kept those first 2 on the first lines, and then incremented everything down. So these are going to stay on the same line. These lines are going to jump down now. So that should work there. That's what I wanted. You are standing in a hallway. There are exits to the north and to the west. And now what we're going to do is we're going to respond to the keys to be able to move around through this dungeon. and 350, you just use get number 1, comma K again because we're going to move around. And then we need to look up the key code for north or in. And for those who don't know, I'm looking this up in the Atari. This is the owner's manual. And you just look in the back here, the back of the book. There's that here. You're looking for the section called the AXI character set. I don't know why this thing takes forever to grab a focus on this. He said it was a really good camera. You can see it anyway, but I'm looking up in the AXI characters here for the letter N. Let me just type it on here and then I'll show you what I'm doing. So according to the AXI book here, the letter for N is 78. And I'll explain this in a minute. Let me just set up our movement. So we'll just say MX equals MX plus 1. And then we'll use 1 for south. South is 83. MX equals MX minus 1. And we'll set up, oops. Let me go back and put a message over here so you can understand what these are doing. So I've done this in another video just to show people K equals 78. Is the AXI character for N. I'll set that to 341. 42 is K equals 83. Is the AXI character for south, or S. Alright, let me just pre-print this. What happened here? Maybe now find out. Okay, so the next one here is K equals east to the E, which is letter 69. And finally, we end up with K equals 87, the AXI character for W. So it's showing the directions you can move. And that's what we're doing, is we're checking the key codes so that we can move around with those key codes basically. What did I say 69 was east? Let's see, north, south, east. Actually, yeah, that's right, east. And K equals 87. That will be the opposite direction. So that should at least get us moving through our little maze here. Now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to change what screen you're in. So maybe where it says here at the top you are standing in a hallway, we're going to be changing this message. So we're probably going to need to put this into a string because it's going to keep changing. So this might be an advanced or intermediate, so I apologize guys. I just wanted to make this kind of cool for people who want to know about this kind of stuff. I didn't think of where to put this. We'll just call it RMs for rooms. And we're going to read in, like we did here with the string variable, we're going to set up our own place for it. I guess I could set it right here. RM strings equals, this will say, instead of saying you are standing, I'll just make it say you are in. We'll change this. You are in. And this next line here will depict the room that we're going to be in. So the first one's going to say in a hallway. The next one, we have to count this over. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, so we're going to be at 13. I'd say 13, I'm at 13 so we know the length of it. Where you're standing in a hallway, you are standing near a drawbridge or something like that. Or a door. Let's say a door, might be easier. So that one's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So 13, 23. Oops, 13, 23. This will be 24 because we're going down the next line. Okay, so if you go into that direction, you're going to see a door. If you go into the other direction, what else is in a castle? I don't know. You got large halls, you got doorways, you got like a courtyard, I could say in a courtyard. We really want to move it in a few different directions and maybe eventually move them outside. So we count these, it's 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. That would be 37. That's 38, which is the next line. So we got in a hallway, near a door, in a courtyard, King's Palace, and let's see, I only need this one to say courtyard because I already got you are in a courtyard, so let me change that one. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. I just realized I need to change this one too. So you've already got you are in, so we don't need to put this in, so I'm going to need to rename, change all these. Sorry guys. Let me recount here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9. This next one's going to be 10. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. You see what I'm doing is I'm just counting the characters in it. In a king's you are standing in king's presence. What's to call that room? So count them: 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. I did that correctly. It should print our messages correct. So this is going to change the message right here on this next line down here. So it says in a hallway. We're going to replace this line with these lines as we're moving through the courtyards. So what we want to do is we just want to get a navigation going on. And I put to the north and to the west. I'm just going to say there are exits. We'll just say north, east, south, west. So this basically tells you can go in any direction you want. So why they give me here? Let's go two of those. Let's just go back and list this. It's going to be kind of a long program, guys, but I think it'll be kind of fun for you. So I'm going to make these in inverse. Okay, so this message is going to change based on our room. So, this is probably going to throw people. I'm going to try to make this a little bit easier. There's no easier way to just print 1, 2, 3, or whatever and just print these messages. You actually have to print the length of each individual string. So we have to match them to what's shown here to get them to print correctly. Fortunately, Atari are kind of limited to that. So I'm just going to set up simple variables to keep track of our lengths going on here. And what could I call them? L1, L2, I guess. So I don't make it too complicated, we'll just call them L1, L2, and I'll explain this in just a minute here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this first message here says you are in, and it says RM strings L1, L2. Now if you go back up here in the program, I want to go too far. I went too far again, darn it. When that happens. Let's see here. Trying to get here. So you see where it says RM strings 10, 20. We're going to set L1 equal to, excuse me, right here, RM strings, we're going to set it equal to 1, and then we're going to set L1 equal to 1, and we're going to set L2 equal to 9 so it can print out our first message. So each time we move, it's going to print a different message, and we're going to have to change those L1 and L2 values to point to that individual room. I said, I know people are not going to like this one, but I can't say they're not always going to be easier, not always going to be harder, but we'll keep working on it. Maybe the next one, when you're making games, they can be a little bit more complex, so you have to kind of take it as it is. This was going to move, I'm probably going to have to change this anyway. I'm not going to throw all this complexity in there right now, I'm just going to set up simple rooms, but you can move around with rooms by doing what I showed you earlier. So right now we're just going to say L1 equals 1, L2 equals 9. We're going to make it equal what these are showing up here. The next one, to print the next room correctly, let's see what we did here. So the first one, 78 is the in. The next one is the south, which will print out the new room there. Okay, so the next one is going to be L1 equals 10, L2 equals 31, L1 equals 21, L2 equals 31. There's another easier way to do this, but I didn't want to make this too confusing for people. Just want to get those rooms to print as we're moving around with the keys. As we're hitting the keys, we want those rooms to change each time. We're going to set up a go-to line to go back to that line. Let me find it again here. I think it's 300. 300 will clear the screen there. So we'll do 300. So 400, go to 300. And that would do it. That should take care of it. Let's see if we can get the rooms to change as I move around with the arrow keys. Press spacebar to start the game. I'm going to erase this message. You don't need this message. I just left it printed on the string. It's at 106. So just erase that. Okay. So you are in a hallway. There are exits north. I know you can't see them here. It says northeast, south, west, and to the west. I need to erase that. I don't need that anymore. Take out the other one we don't need. So there are exits north, south, east, west. So you're in a hallway. So as soon as you press one of the keys, hopefully if we did this right, this should change right underneath here. Let's see. Okay, it changed the message. You are in, it says near a door, courtyard. I actually printed too many messages here. Let's see here. We're just trying to get it to print this line only, or the next line, 10, 20. You're in near a door. How about in? You are near a door. You are In a courtyard. I guess I should have left those messages in there, so let's just do this. We're going to use this and this and it's going to become 2. We don't always need it. You are in a hallway. You're near a door. That looks better. In a courtyard. By a king's throne. That's what I wanted to say. I have to renumber these again, so let's count them again. It starts at 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's going to be 12. The first one's going to be 1, 12. This down here is going to change to 12. Oops. And the next one's going to be 13, because we're going down to the next series in the string. So it's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I'm at 23. Remember, these keys are corresponding to what these variables are showing up there. So you notice I keep changing these down here. These are reflecting what's up here. So we can change that room each time. Okay, so it's going to be 24. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. And that's going to be 37. Okay, so it's going to be 38. Next down. 38, 39, 40, 41, 40. We have too many spaces in this one. Let's try it again. 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 58, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. I got 55 on that one. Once again, you're going to make these reflect down here to print the correct messages on the rooms on the screen. We're just going to change those lines like so. 38. Finally, 55. Hopefully that I did this correctly. Spacebar to start the game. Okay, so you are in a hall. Now if we go south, there it goes. You are near a door. So it changed the message when I press the S key. Now if I press the N key, it should say you're in a hall. There you go. So it's working just like we want it to work. So let's go ahead and press E. You are in a courtyard. Now let's press W. You are by a king's throne. So see what it's doing is it's changing the messages as we go through that string, and each time we press the key, it's going ahead and it's changing that corresponding message. Let me go back and explain the program, because I know you waited a long time patiently for me to go through all that. Okay, so back to where we were earlier. It's very similar to what we did earlier here. We're just setting up a string here, and these are going to correspond to the rooms down here. So if you see where it says RM strings L1, L2, this is going to pick down here. L1 is going to be equal to 1 the first time you press the N key, and L2 is going to be equal to 12. So that's basically printing this whole first line, because this starts at 1 and then goes over to 12 before you get down to the next line. So that's how it prints the first line. And then when you press 83, which is the S key, or south, then L1 is going to be equal to 13 and L2 is equal to 23. And if you insert the 13 and the 23 inside of here, which is your ARM string, because remember, we're pressing the key and we're clearing the screen and reprinting these messages over and over again, then 13 and 23 is going to say near a door. So every time you press that direction, you're near a door. Now, if the next one says if you, let's go down to the next one here just to show you. It's initializing ARM strings 24, 37 to be equal to in a courtyard. So if you look down here, ARM strings L1, L2 is going to print the message on the screen. It's going to always say you are every time, but the string is changing based on wherever we're moving or whatever key we're pressing. So when you press the E key, which is 69 down here, L1 is going to be equal to 24 and L2 is going to be equal to 37. Now look up here at 24 and 37, and you'll see 24 and 37 equals a courtyard. So every time you press the E key, or the east, it's going to say in a courtyard. And of course the last one is 38, 55. It's going to say by a king's throne. That's why I was counting these all out, so we can print out the whole correct messages on the lines. Otherwise it'll start writing over different characters from other lines, so you always want to make sure you count them out. And then the next one here is going to say by a king's throne once you've pressed the W key. If you press the W for west, it's going to say L1 equals 38, L2 equals 55, and 38 and 55 correspond to the string up here for 38 and 55, so it's going to say by a king's throne. So each time you're pressing those keys, you'll see the rooms changing over and over again. There are other ways to do it, but I didn't want to make this program real advanced. You can also increment through values and increment through these individual screens as you're changing them. You basically have to increment and multiply inside of a for-next loop, but I did not want to throw too much into one program to confuse people. I just wanted people to get the hang of learning how to take variables and insert them inside of your strings so that you can make them print the messages that you want to come out of those strings. Like I said, this one was going to be a little bit more advanced, but just kind of keep up with the series and you'll see that this is already evolving into some kind of a game already. So let's go back and run it again just to show you. Okay, so press the space bar, start the game, got our message. Now we're going to press the N key. That's the hallway. We're going to press the south key. Near a door, press the E. Courtyard, press the west. And you see how they keep changing as I'm pressing them? And it's only changing that line because we're only changing that string for that line alone. So it looks like we're kind of moving around here in a text adventure. That's how you get things to move around. Even though it's only 4 rooms, I just wanted to show you that's how you can manipulate and use the strings in a program. I couldn't really think of a whole lot more examples to show you in this one. This one got pretty advanced and pretty far-fetched for people. But I was hoping it would at least give you an idea of knowing how to use strings and what string arrays can be used for. Let me see if there's anything else I can add to this to make this a little bit more fun. I know I set up those other ones in the get and all that earlier up here. Or is it down here? We set these up and we build these. I wanted to use these later so that when we type these commands in, it's going to respond to stuff. And I could probably still do that. Hopefully we don't go too far over on this one. We're going to need to change this line again here. We'll just make that 800 for now. And the rest here. Okay, so we got our 390. And this one's going to check the commands. Well, I didn't want to make this so confusing for you, but there is a way to do it and check the commands as you're typing them on the keyboard. I wanted to keep it simple, like input string, just for now maybe. There's a way you can get pretty advanced. So we'll set up a new variable here for a dimension, for a message or input line. I guess I'll just call it, let's see. We'll just call it A for action or ACT for action. We'll call it ACs for action. So we'll initialize action here, whatever we need. Okay, and down here, a new line, we'll say input AC for action, and we're going to check it. If ACs equals, and now we're going to try to make it equal these commands that we saw earlier down here in our loop without typing in. It's basically going to correspond to something like this in the program. If AC equals get, or actually it started this one, look, that's for look, and it's going to print look messages on the screen, or to position it somewhere. I don't know where the line was at, maybe 3, 12 or something like that. And then UC based on whatever's in that room. And we'll set that to another string variable to get a message there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to change this line here And remember our command earlier? It's going to search through here. So we got 1, 2, 3, that's for get. 4, 5, 6 is for drop. 7, 8, 9. So it'd be 7 to 9 for our look command. I did this correctly. I have to go back and double check this to make sure it's right too. So CM string 7, 9 is look. Okay, so that'll work perfect. So now when we get our look command, we're going to be able to see stuff in each individual room. We're also going to need to change these values to point to what we're seeing, because we're going to set up a new variable for that. A new string variable. Let's see, I'm going to call this one and maybe we can follow it. Or set it down here actually. We got the input string, and this will show, I guess, LO for looks or something. Or just LOs for looks, make it simpler. Whatever the command is for looks. And we're going to put stuff inside of looks just like we did with our other stuff up here. Where's it at? Just like this stuff here, we're going to set stuff inside of it. So 305 LO strings is going to represent whatever we see in the hallway. And in a hallway, maybe we see, trying to think of what they call those things hanging on the walls. We could just say a suit of armor or something like that. Get stuff. And then now we need to count these. 1, 2, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So this will start at 16. So in the first room, when you're in a hallway, you're going to see a suit of armor. And then when you're near a door, you should see the drawbridge. That's where I'm going to make the drawbridge nearby. Or maybe a window or something like that. Look out and you might see the mode or something like that. And let's count these now. It starts at 16, so 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Let's just start at 24. Okay, so the next line here goes to, and you just follow them one by one. This first one is the hallway. This is near the door, is in a courtyard. So in the courtyard, whatever you see in the courtyard, maybe you see a moat or something like that, because you're outside now. And we just count those. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. I got 29 here. The last one is a 30. We're going to be seeing it by the king's throne here. So by the king's throne, obviously we're going to see a king. I guess we could just say king and guards or something, I don't know. Let's say the king, I guess. And you count these again, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. And that's 37 of them. If I've done that correctly, we should have enough for our looks. And we're going to do the same thing that we did up here, down here, for our look command to position what you're seeing in each room. So you see, we can set this on the same line. We've got the first one, let me go back and look at it. 1,15 is suit of armor. So you see the software there. Okay, AC strings equals CM strings, which is still, this is still our look command here. So if you're looking into the next room here, we're going to erase this line, put it on the same line, and say you see once again the next in sequence. Let me look and see what that is. it's 16,23 for the window. And notice earlier I used the L1 and L2 because we're moving around. This time we're only going in those individual rooms, so I'm just using and printing the values here. We could have done the same here, but I wanted to show you how to insert variables inside of the strings. So let's do that. And there's something else we're going to need to do here. Yeah, I don't know if you're catching it right now. These are going to print all the same messages at once in the same line, so we need to indicate which room we're in. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. This one's going to be a long video, it looks like. Really good for learning though. I'll go back and look at the next one in the series. The next one is 2429. Work on the 29. There we go. Let's go look at the next one so I know that one. It's 3037. Let me run this right now and watch what's going to happen. I've already predicted what's going to happen in this program. It's always going to show this last line because it's going to print through these really fast each time. As soon as you type in the input command and you type in LLL for look, which is what this does here, which means look at the room basically. If you can just type in look or whatever you want, it's going to basically print through all these really quick, and it's going to position them on the line. It's going to position this one, it's going to position these because these are all identical. Position this one and position this one, and it's always going to show the same last one. So I think that was showing every room is going to show that there's a king in it. Let's see if that works correctly. I'll also make sure I've gone back to the line so that we've done that correctly too. Okay, so yeah, it does. Okay, so now it's going to say down here it's asking for a command. I type in look. You didn't see it erased it so quick, but it said it there for a minute. It's just because it's always clearing the screen too, which is another thing we need to do, is we need to fix that. We need to make it corresponding to a key once you've gone here. I didn't even teach you about GOSUB now. I'm the one to teach this one. So we'll set it at line 1500. And this will be for the GOSUB line. And this is going to be checking our keyboard again. It equals 32, then return. Otherwise it's going to go back to the same line. So it's going to basically allow the keyboard to check for the space bar once we enter our command so that we can see our message on the screen. I couldn't think of any other way to do it. North, type in our command, and erased it too quickly. Oh, I forgot to do the GOSUB. So let me show you how the GOSUB works. So up here in our commands, once we type in look, we're going to say GOSUB, which is going to jump down to this line here for 1520. 1520. We're going to do that on each of these lines here. GOSUB 1520. GOSUB 1520. GOSUB 1520. Let me just test it and I'll have to explain it. East, look. There it goes. Now see, I wanted it to freeze on the screen each time. This one is saying you see a suit of armor. Let's see if I hit enter the space bar. It is changing them. What do you know? I think it would. Oh, because it's going to each individual line. I know what it's doing. So, let me go back and correct it, and then I'll explain what I've done here. You can see text of interest can be quite a task to really develop. but they're fun once you learn how to use them. So each time we're going through a room here, we want to change which room we're in to locate each time. I'm just going to set these, how about I use RM? I'm just going to use room for room. So the message are going to be pick which room we're in. If we're in this one, then we're in room 1. If we're in this one, we're in room 2, room 3. And these are corresponding to what's up here. So if we press the N key, we're in room 1. If we press the S key, we're in room 2. If we press the E key, we're in room 3. If we press the W key, we're in room 4. So over here, we're going to need to teach us something new called an AND, which is going to check 2 conditions. So if room equals 1, then we're going to print the first message. Otherwise, room equals 2, and we'll print the next message. Otherwise, room equals 3, print the next message. And we got room equals 4 on the final one. I said these can get pretty tedious, but they're fun once you really get it going with them. And a lot of people sometimes they get to the point they just want to type in my programs at this point, I noticed. Okay, so let's try that. I'm also going to reposition these lines here. They kind of print pretty far over. We'll just set these to 0. 0. Let me get it working and I'll have to go back and explain it. You aren't lost by now, I apologize. So we move around our rooms and we type in our room, our command. Look, you see a moat. So the moat would not be in the hall, so that actually seems to be incorrect at this point. So let's see. I go west, you see the king. Actually, it shows this before it goes to the room, so I need to make this execute and then that execute afterward. So let's see here. I see what it's doing. I'm not sure I'm going to fix this. So it's going here, and in the command, that's why I didn't want to do just a single input command, because it's going to trap it on the screen every time. That's what this is doing, is accepting an input, and it's just looking for those commands. This is the look command. It's checking the room that it's in, and then it's printing the message. But this GOSUB here is always jumping down to 1520 every single time. So as soon as you input your command LOO, you won't be able to see the new room because it hasn't jumped back up to the other section. So it's going to go down here and wait for the keyboard, or wait for the space bar, is what this does, before you can jump down to the next line, the next line, the next line. So, not sure if that's going to work correctly. But I really wanted to get into really explaining how strings work, and that's what you're basically learning here, is how to build strings and how to set things within them. So I think you're kind of learning something, hopefully. Even as I'm trying to pick out how I'm going to do this. L1, 15. Trying to figure out how else I could really, the input's going to trap it. We need to make it print the message first and then go back here somehow. That's about the only thing I can really do. So I don't like to use that inputs, because the inputs kind of traps it on the screen the whole time. I wanted to just use a direct keyboard buffer and make it save keys structs. I guess we're stuck with this one for now. I got an idea though. I'm going to put this input higher up on the screen. We'll put that like at the beginning. So let's change 420 and move it somewhere higher in the program before we print anything. Basically before we print our messages here. So it has to go beyond all this. It's going to be kind of sloppy at this point though. You're in a king's throne, you're near a door. There are exits to the west, southeast. I want this to print first. It's okay for this one to print. Let's set up here maybe. It's going to kind of do the same thing, I noticed. Well, golly. put it right here maybe. Maybe that'll do it. Yeah, that'll allow the input to happen before the messages change. I think that'll probably do it. Good. Let's see. Looks like it might be working because it's actually going to print a message. Clearing up all their exits. No, it's not east west. Let's see. East. Hello. You see the king. Oh, there it goes. And it's still printing before the king shows up. Oh boy. See what I'm trying to do? Is I'm trying to make it say once you type in look, you want to print that message right away on the screen. The problem is it's erasing it too fast. I could delay the message, but it's erasing the message too fast. Because it's always printing the screen up here. So I need to probably put that print this clear screen somewhere else to make it just clear the screen later or something. Instead of always going back and clearing the screen. I think that's why you're not seeing it. We still want to clear the screen, so that ain't going to work either. This is where it's always clearing the screen. Maybe you want to make it clear after the message. Let's see what that would do. 28. Set that to remark. I don't know what it's going to do. We'll see. It's going to leave that message on the screen. I didn't want it to do that. There's an easy fix for that. Divided by clear and start it. Now it's just putting everything. Look at that. Well, staying on the screen this time with the King's Throne. That's what I wanted it to do. But it shows up later. It's kind of funny the way it runs. And it prints afterward. That's weird. Let's see. We go south. So it's waiting for the direction key. Now you press south. You see the window. And it shows you near the door, which is near the window. It's kind of backward. Trying to figure out how to organize this. So type look, erases the screen, waits for a key input, and it shows the message, and then a key shows the rest of the message. So I need to figure out how to do this now. I probably need to put all this on the same line is what I need to do. You see, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put that in the same line. Just like we did up here earlier. Where's it at? Just like we did here. I'm going to stick it up here. I think that'll probably be the solution. So we'll stick it at, I'm running out of room here. 320, let's first 320, I have to do that. I can probably get this to work in a minute, guys. So input, I'm going to change this to, I don't have a 330 here, do I? I can use 330. Sorry for the delay, guys. I wanted to really get this working. So 326, we're going to print this new message down here that we're printing down here for our lines down here. We want to print these up here instead of just making a print down here every time we enter the look command. We just want to basically change this string right here and make this represent what shows up here. So we're going to use the L1s and L2s again. They work better when we do it that way. So I'll put it in here and I'll explain it. 326 is going to look like this. We've already been doing it. 0 count 20. It's going to say UC, and it's going to say L1, L2, and GOSUB. That should work perfect for the message. Just like that. Now it's going to appear up here next time. And it should work very good. The only thing we're going to need to do is change our L1s. We're going to leave this, but our L1s are going to change to L1 equals 1, L2 equals 15. GOSUB will stay. L1 equals 16, L2 equals 23. L1 equals 24, L2 equals 29. Finally, L1 equals 30, and L2 equals 37. I think that did it. Look what we were trying to achieve here. So we've got them all in line now, so now it should be changing the messages and show what's in each individual room based on wherever we're moving at, whatever message we're typing in, based on our input command down here. So I could still set input down here again, and it'll be fine, or erase the other one. This takes a little bit of rearranging, a little thinking. Text adventures are like that, they require more thought. Start game. Now I got an error message. So let's do 26. What is L2 done? Well, I didn't initialize them yet. I didn't initialize them yet, so I need to change those. Oh, and I used L2 up here earlier. Maybe I shouldn't even be using L2. We'll just say E1. Shoot, look at the numbers for me again. Let's go back and change them down here, and then I'll change them up here. We need new arrays, or new variables. We'll just call E1 for examine, E1, E2, E1, E2, E1, E2. The first one is 1, 15. We just need to set them and initialize them up here. 1 equals 1, 2 equals 15. Let me run it and I'll explain it. Now what happened? Oh, I got to change it up here. E1, E2. New variables. You see a suit of armor. And that's what's in the hole. We put the suit of armor, so that's correct. So now we go down and we press the key, and we're looking for our look message. Should keep the same thing because we're in the same room. And this, I need to clear this text window now. Or maybe just the upper messages. This time, 200 still there. What did they say? 300, print number 6, equals string 125. Clear the whole screen each time. Goes. Okay, let's move in a direction and change the where we're going to move at. Now we're in the king's throne. You see the king. It's working good now. Okay? It's going to be kind of hard for people to understand how to use it, though. I'm probably the only one that knows how to use it. But let's see. Look. King. Okay, let's go south. What happened? I was trying to get the input parser to work with this, but it doesn't. Seems like I have the input in the wrong place again or something. Let's see. Just waiting for the first keyboard to move the screen. It probably isn't going to work very well that way. I'm trying to mix the keyboard up in the input statement, and this isn't going to work this way. Because all these lines are doing down here is they're accepting input from the keyboard, as you saw at the bottom. So right after you press the keys here, oh, I noticed it's never going back to here. Oh, it's going inside the whole loop. So 300, it's checking the keyboard and it's checking the input at the same time. So it doesn't really work well that way. That's why I wanted to set up a single parser where it could set individual keystrokes and just count the number of spaces to be able to type in those messages. I could probably still do that. Wow, this thing just got so advanced so quickly. I wanted to make it real simple. If you type in look, whatever, it kind of navigates the stuff. I got carried away with using the keys, so I might end up taking this out and just using these for the movement only. We could do that instead. Doesn't really matter. Let's go back and change these 470 to something like A strings equals, oh boy, I don't remember what 78 was, so right there, north. As you press the north, then it's going to move in north. We have AC strings equals south for 83. We move south. We have A strings equals east. It moves in east. I just erased my lines too. That's not what I wanted. I meant to say 470, 480, 490. A strings equals east. 500. A strings equals west, and we're moving west. Let me go back and change the other ones and erase those. I'm going to remove the keyboard inputs, and we're just going to leave in the new inputs for the movements only, which are actually down here, so we're going to erase these. So I'll say goodbye to those. Decided I'm not going to use them after all. 350, 360, 370, 380. Okay. Now it should do what we want. Now it's going to respond everything by the parser only, and I notice the keyboard is still on, so I need to turn that off. I'm about to get number one kind of key in there, that's why. Right here, this needs to get deleted or turn it off. Okay, what's going on here? 1520. Oh, it's still got the other keyboard on, I forgot. It's 1520 is responding to the messages down here, and it's jumping down into the keyboard, so we don't need to use that anymore. So we'll just take the GOSUB out. Although now you know how GOSUB works, we won't need it for this example. I like to kind of go through examples and show people how stuff is used if you want to use it in your own programs. GOSUB will go to the line 1520. Down here, and when he hits return, it'll always go back to the same line. So earlier where you saw me up here, and I had GOSUB 1520, this would jump down here, and earlier we had it read in the keyboard and say if you press the space bar, then return. That means it'll go back here so it can go back to where it left off at. That's all GOSUB does, is it jumps to a line and returns to the exact same point right after the GOSUB. So we're going to take out the keyboard though, we don't need this, and we're going to take out the GOSUB. I decided we're not going to need that. At least not for now, so let's try it now. And you see a suit of armor. Now what's still responding to? Oh, it went straight to the keyboard, I think. Let's see. Go to 300. How did it get down here? No, I jumped down here again. Let's see if there's not a GOSUB in here somewhere. Let me go back and check my lines and windows. It's getting so big now, I'm probably leaving lines in there. I still got this for the start key, that's correct. We don't need two of those. Trying to figure out how it's going down the line. These are all taken out. No GOSUB down in here. Somehow it's getting down here though. 300. Let's go to 300. Let me see. Okay. How is it going down? Must have left in the GOSUB somewhere. Let's see. 1520 right there. I left it on the same line. There we go, it's going now. Now it should do with that one. There we go. Now it's going to respond to the north movement keys. It's going to move them. See if it's changing here. And it should be changing this message down here. Let's see if that's working too. Based on whenever I type in look in that room. It should show me what's in that room. There it is. It shows a king. Great. That's what I wanted. We go west, and we are in the king's throne. We go east. We're in the courtyard. What do we see there? We see a moat. That's correct. We also probably want to erase this message each time. South. We're near a door, and the door is the window. And what was next? East, west, east, south. What was north? North is the hallway, which is a suit of armor. When I press E, press west, it shouldn't show this message until we respond from the keyboard here, so this will probably go back to what we had with the keyboard earlier. We're still going to need it to do that. So we don't want it to always say you're seeing this, until we've actually responded and used the little click command. So go back and change that. I think that'll probably wrap this one up. This one became pretty long. Hopefully I have time to go back and explain all this before I lose my mind trying to put this one together. So as we type in the input, we type in the look. This is the look command right here. And we're in the correct room right there. And we're going to print the message. Change the value. That's correct. We only want to make it change. I think I'm just going to have to change the position of the input. That's all. I have set it at 305 or something. Let's see, I do have it for 305. Set it up here somewhere. I still wanted to print all these messages though. We only want this last one to change based on whatever we type in. So I'll probably have to set this one down in. So 326 can probably get pushed down here again. I think I'll just set it there. Let's see, 326. I'll probably just make it say 465 or something like that. Let's see if I'll put it in the right place. Do what I want. It shows it, but it erases it too fast that way because it's always clearing the screen. Probably have to set up a delay on it or something for it. Oh boy. Now you can see the complexity in creating games. This is just the very beginning when you don't plan them out and you're just typing them out. This is why programming can be very tedious and very drawn out. So, got this one printing this one. We got the input parser going in. We got our lines printing, but they only print when we go back up to the top. I could still go down here and do the delay with the keyboard. Maybe say press spacebar after the message shows or something like that. I think that's what I'll do. Pull that line on again. UC 0, 12, 0, 14. Press spacebar. So it's going to go down to this line and wait for a spacebar to be pressed. So that should work perfect. So we'll go to the 1520 up here. Yeah, we'll keep it on the screen. Looks like we're going to use GOSUB after all. Good thing I didn't erase it. So I don't get 1,000 different comments on how do you use this program? How do you use this? How do you play this game? There, now it'll show, once you type in the message, it shows the correct message. The suit of armor, that's correct for the hall. And it'll say press the space bar, and it'll clear the message. Okay, so south, you see a suit of armor. Okay. West. And so that's not working right now. I want to make it show up after the message. West. You see a suit of armor. Press spacebar. East. Oh, I know why it's saying that, because I didn't even put the room in. I didn't look at the room. Because if you're not looking, it's always going to say your CS pseudo-on. I just noticed that. It's always printing that message. So we don't want to make it say anything. We don't want to have any messages in here. I think I took it out there. Actually, east, north, west. Yeah, I took it out of here. Let's see. E1, E2. That's the look command. Oh, I have it right here. I need to take it out of there. 465. I need to see that. We need to stick it back in here somewhere. So this 465 will have to go down here between 1520. So let's make it 1522. We gotta do it. Let's try that. That should work perfect, hopefully. Now let's see what's in that room. There it is. You see a mode. Great. That's waiting for the key press. That's waiting for the keyboard. You didn't even say that. What happened? Okay, so it goes to 1520. Goes down here. Should be printing this line. And should be printing this line. Not reading it again. Just a little logic to work out, guys. Let's see. See, it's changing the rooms and everything. I type in look in the command room. It should be showing it right away, but it's not. It's waiting for a key press. It's not printing my messages on the screen. So let's go back and find that why. Type in look. You're in the correct room. Oh, no wonder. I forgot to put it on the first line. I think we got it now. It was waiting for the second rooms. It was only working on this, but it wasn't working on the first one because I didn't have a GOSUB in it. It wasn't knowing where to go. Okay? East, west, south, north, and look. Why isn't that printing it? Come on. Should be going right to that line when I type in look. Let's see. Let's go to the first one and just type in look. 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 What is it doing now? Oh no. Like it's not responding. Let me go back and double check to make sure that the book messages are correct here and the rooms are matching up. Here's how you do that. You just go here and you start print AC or CM string 7, 9. I know that's look, right? And you want to match it up with the room. Oh. Room is 0. Did I ever change the rooms? I know I put it in there earlier. So every time we're moving, and here's where it is, should be changing the room. I got that to 0. Let's try it anyway. Let's see, look, and then it's still 0. So our room is resetting somehow, or it's not finding how to change this. Let's see. So room 1, you know, if you type in north, it should be 1, south should be 2, east should be 3, and west should be 4. No question about that, guys. I think I need to put these before these. I think these are throwing this off. So, do some more rearranging here. We want to set them up here, like maybe on line, what, 422 or something like that. So 422, 23, 424, 425. Erase the other ones. didn't change this time. That's correct. Now it's 3. So that part's working. I type look. Once again, we're stuck on that. It's not putting my message over. I'm trying to make it say, as soon as you type in a command like that, it should show the message. It's not going yet fast enough though. And stuck. It's stuck right there. I don't know why. What is it? Minus 3. Let's go back and check the 3 for that. So earlier it was north. If you type in 3, it should be this one right here. It should go to 450. 7, 9. This is look. The room is 3, right? And seeing strings E1 and E2. Where the hell else? Remote. GOSUB to 1520. So 1520 shows the keyboard. I'm going to have to set this up before this. Maybe the keyboard down here. Let's just kind of reverse these. We'll just do 1520. 32. So when they can print the messages, and then it'll go to the keyboard response. Let's see. That works. Ah, there it goes. That's what I wanted. Now I was going to wait for the key press. And then print out my message though. Let's say press space bar to continue, they didn't. I got stuck there. Let's see if I overwrote the line. 0,12, 0,14, go to 1520, oh it's going back here again. I'm going to make this rate go to 1525. I think that might do it right there. I think I finally made success on this. Let's see. Look. This one never wants to work the first time. Just waiting for the key press, that's why. Look. CSC environment, correct? Where's my message at? Why is my message printing? It says UCSC environment, but it should also be saying press spacebar to continue. It's not. What is that? 1. Let's see. RM1 is right here. E1, E15, go to 1520. Oh. This is why. I didn't even see that 15 inside of there. It was going down here, and it was going down here every time, so it was never getting to this line. So let's try to fix that. I think we got it now. I'm also going to need to initialize the first room to 1, so we know which room we're in. So the first time, we're in the very first room, which is the one that says in a hallway. That's, I think it's room 1. Let me see. You are in, make sure it's hallway. Hallway? We'll try that anyway. Up here we're going to set room to 1. Program isn't even near done, guys. But it's just giving you an idea of how to set up your own text adventure. There it goes. Press spacebar. There we go. That's what I wanted. Now it erases it. Excellent. That's what I wanted. Go east. Go west. Look in the room for there. Ah, it's working great now. Press spacebar. Continue. Go west. Go south. Near a door. What's in that room? It's working perfect. We're almost out of time, but it's working perfect. So see, now when I type the command and look, it's responding with the message that it's indicating. So you see a window, which is near the door. So near the door, I just stuck a window there, like on a wall or something. And you press spacebar, and it'll erase this. It'll keep you in the same room. If you type in north, for example, Or is it, or south? It'll, north, I think? Yeah, north is hallway, you type look, you'll see the suit of armor, which is near the hallway. That's why I put the armor in it. You press spacebar, works great, I like it. West, King's Throne, what's there? This is working great, I like this. I'm going to probably save this so I don't lose anything. I'll go back and I'll explain this. DXT ADV. Let's set the line here so I don't forget this. 15. Sorry, this one video went way over, guys. Reached an hour and a half on this one, but eventually got it working here. I want to try to explain this before I run out of time on this one. This one was kind of fun though, don't you think? I mean, it became a real live text adventure when we move around, and you can see stuff changing through the array as we're moving through the rooms. You're welcome to go ahead and type it in if you didn't learn much. I am sorry about that. Got pretty carried away trying to get this one together. But let me go back and explain as much as I can. You won't need to type in any of the remarks. You can remove those lines. That's just from the examples I was showing you earlier as we were learning and going along in it. Probably take all these out. We don't need these anymore. Okay, what's left here? I explained all this earlier. Well, we take out 340. We don't need 340. 390. We'll take that out. There's one layover. Try to get back where I left off here. So when you're typing input at the input, it's looking for the message of N. Earlier we used the keyboard to look for the N key, but now I changed it just to say whatever you type into that little question mark, if it equals an N, which is north, then we're going to set variables called L1 equals 1, L2 equals 12. And remember, the L1 and L12 is up here earlier, so let me go back here a minute. Don't lose that. I'll show you. It's right here. So L1 equals 1 and L2 equals 12, which is actually representing the hallway. So basically, that's going to say once you move in that direction, you're going to see the hallway. It's just like the keyboard. It's just basically going to respond to whatever you type in for the input. Instead of using the key for the S in the keyboard, you're just going to wait for you type in the S alone in the input string, and then it's going to say 1323, which is the same thing here near a door. That's how you get them to change based on the directions. So if you type in the E, L1 is 24 and L2 is 37, which is going to show in a courtyard. So that'll basically print the courtyard. And west, of course, is going to be by a King's Throne. And that's how you can build upon your rooms, just by setting these up. Then you can set up your rooms. When you get really good later, you'll be able to increment these rooms, like room equals room plus 1, and then make it basically cycle through a list of strings as you're going through it, and then you'll be able to set up a huge rooms and be able to set up like a giant maze and stuff like that. That's how I did one of my text adventures many years ago. I didn't want to make it too advanced. I know this one got a little bit advanced, but I think you might have a better understanding of how strings work now. Well, this one's going almost like 2 hours. Because it was that long. Okay, and then the next thing here to kind of speed this up, it's just looking for the look command. You saw me print out CM string 7,9. That says if you type in that little question mark LOO for look, and you're in room 1, then we're going to set E1 equal to 1 and E2 equal to 15, which is going to print. Let me go back up here again, show you real quick. Just like you saw earlier. I have to keep these on the screen so you can see them. Oh, here's good. It's going to print this that says a suit of armor, because LO starts from 1 and it goes to 15. So down here you see, where's it at? 1 and 15. So it's basically going to insert this in further down in the GOSUB. So when it prints out UC, it's going to say what you see in that room, and you see a suit of armor. And then when you go to room 2, which is right here, and you type in look, then you're going to set E1 equal to 1 and E2 equal to 23. And remember, GOSUB down to that line so we can print the message out. and it's going to say what you see in room 2. Based on that, you're going to see a window. And that's how I get it to say every time you're in a certain room, it's going to show what you're seeing. And you're just basically GOSUB down here the line, which is going to print it out on the screen. So I'll go down there and they'll show you. You won't be able to see them all on the same screen. Just look at it in the program after you type it in. And you'll see down here, it prints the message you see, LO strings, E1, E2, which corresponds to these things right up here, which is printing out what we saved earlier in those arrays. And this really down here is checking for the keyboard, because there's one that says press spacebar. It's waiting for the spacebar to be able to go back up and erase everything and find out and update everything on the screen. So it works pretty good. So it's not a full-fledged text adventure, but it got us started. So I'm going to kind of wrap that up there. I know that one kind of went really extensive, got really long. But if you're interested, go ahead and definitely subscribe to my videos. Hopefully I'll try to keep them so they're not too complicated like this one was, but I think this one will probably give you more of a grasp how to use the read statement, because I kind of broke it down at the beginning, and it shows you how you can do some cool things once you learn how to set up strings. You see me, I've been able to change those messages as I moved around with the keyboard earlier. I was pressing the keyboard, and the second time I just changed it so when you have the input string and you have the input message for input A strings, and you see the question mark, whatever you type in that question mark, if you type in look, it's going to change those messages. Now you could also correspond it to the drop, the inventory, and the move, basically inventory showing the items you're carrying. You just have to always change those strings and make those variables point to what's showing up in that area. So that's kind of a mouthful, but that's how text adventures go, and they're not easy to develop. I mean, I didn't design my first text adventure for many years. I mean, it took me a long time to really understand everything about variables and really get a grasp on that, understand logic in general. Once I got that down, I had to understand strings and how they correspond to things you see on the screen and the specific locations within the strings before I could really understand what to do with them. So it takes a lot of work. So I hope you enjoyed this session as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. Even though I did get stuck there for a while, if you want to fast forward through those parts, you're welcome to do that. But even still, you're going to learn a lot in this video. If you don't rewind it and go back and look at it again, you know, just kind of start it over. And I think it'll be beneficial for people who are looking for this kind of thing. And it's going to take you up to the next step, which eventually we're going to design a really nice game, maybe even set up some graphics in it. We could maybe even design a text adventure that changes graphic screens as we go through it or something like that. But we'll see how it goes. So if you're interested, definitely go ahead and subscribe to this channel. And thank you for watching.